we gather here again to have some interesting conversations. Tonight, this is happening with Nathan. I've been meaning to have him come over and talk some stuff, and that he's an important person. You know, he's very occupied, and he's doing a lot of stuff right now. Like he's starting his own business, which is actually has extra repercussions on the earth. He's addressing a problem, which is really interesting, and I hope to get to hear about that in podcast or interesting conversations to come. Yeah, we were talking as we were setting up all the equipment. He was asking me what's my favorite kind of music for a particular reason. I would say that I don't really pay that much attention to the genre. But what's important to me is the fact that what the music carries or influences in people. So, for example, I enjoy the kind of music that is self-destructive and like very, like for example, Nirvana embodies that feeling of being self-destructive and being like sick with society and really being in that sense of like you feel despicable, you feel despite against society.
I think that's good kind of music to listen to when you're feeling like too ambitious. Like when you start really getting kind of greedy. But I think it can be, I think music can really influence you. And, if you're not, it could influence you positively, but also negatively, I think. Yeah.
But, yes, and for example, the fact that this for example, Nirvana, how it influences me, is great because sometimes I have an outlet, so I don't have a particular preference because it also might depend on my mood.
Right.
If the mood fits, there's another kind of music, for example, music that is more moved, like trance and electronic music that is really for dancing. That sometimes really vibrates with me. There's also music that is very rebellious, like music that says things against the system or says things against something. Like Rage Against the Machine is another kind of inspired that feeling. But as in the one thing that I've seen in the Christian approach, the Christian religion, is there's their euphoria when they praise. Praise the Lord with their praise.
Singing gospels,
So the gospel, that's kind of music that I feel more attracted to.
Yeah.
Hey, Zach.
I'm with you there.
So that kind of music, the embodiment of giving your love and praises to this wonderful energy, however you call it, but in their case is God, but giving those praises and being in that state is one of the things that I resonate a lot about that particular Christianity. But then I found that music merges with one of the best expression of the African, and reggae was born. So reggae is what all of what they say, what they is about consciousness, and it's about rebellion, and it's about praising God. Praising what they call Jah or I and I, which is everything. The spirit that indwells everything. So and they're very philosophical. So reggae being like the best expression of the African to me, because the rhythm, because of the sweetness, it's a music that you can dance to, and a music that you can enjoy or just relax into it, or music that you can really get into it and hear a message. that really transforms you. And all that genre, and if you were to call it a genre, the reggae, they're always, again, just being rebellious and talking like really openly about spiritual things.
Yeah.
You know? So in that sense, that's the kind of music that vibrates the most, where I find most affinity with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I was thinking about this today. You know, we, the past 5-10 years, we've gotten music streaming, where like you and I can have every song, you know, not every song, but we can play any genre we like without having to buy, you know, each song. It's like it's a really interesting thing because, you know, like we were saying, each kind of music will affect you differently. And so like, how do you choose to use that, you know? Like, you can have access to a playlist that'll like really hype you up, or a playlist to really calm you down, or a playlist to help you be focused. And I was thinking about this because I just haven't, like I listen to music sometimes, but I don't take the time to like make playlists, and I don't really have good collections of music. But, you know, I'll put things on a loop when I want to be focused, or, you know, something like this. So, yeah. I guess you probably got a reggae playlist.
Well,
a podcast playlist.
A podcast playlist. Well, I do. Again, there is you know, a lot of my music, is drawn to reggae. A lot of it. So I have different playlists, but
Now, do your playlists, like, how do you use that?
How do I use my playlist?
How do you use your playlists? Yeah, are they just like for different settings, or are they for like when you're doing different activities, or just how you feel? You just pick
almost all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Almost all the time I have a different playlist going on. And for the most part, for example, Bob Marley, for me, he's not even in a playlist himself, because all of his songs to me are magnificent. And so every time I go and listen to I have like his albums tell different things. And because these albums tells different things, depending on what I need to hear, I will go to each album. So it's like a psalm, like a spiritual thing. It's like he was a preacher, he was a prophet, and he was profiting through the words that he was saying. He was liberating its people, and the understanding that this man had. It's a very, very keen understanding, and this guy used the music to transfer it, and he was a genius in music, a musical genius. Now, you know, like up to now is the most known listening musician in the world, and it never goes away. His songs live forever. And the level of mysticism that he talks is incredible. And the thing is, like, when you listen to those things, it's like you can be enjoying the moment, and at the same moment you're brought up to this, to the message. A message that is in the moment reflecting upon you. You know, like whatever you needed. Like if you feel down, if you feel, in whatever feeling you have, you can have. Bob was there with a certain thing. So it's super interesting feeling. Let me play a song from him to see if you resonate. Oh wait, I think I need to charge my I'm in a pickle, but I'll come back to that. Because my phone has 2% before it dies, and we have very a limited amount of time to talk.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna sacrifice that and share it with you in another opportunity.
Sounds good.
What has been present in our conversations recently that have been like really, really deep?
Well, it's sort of like one thing that always seems to happen when we have conversations, where we, sit down and have a conversation, is we get into, like, one of us will use a term like belief or wisdom, and then be like, well, what does that really mean, And then that becomes a conversation. Mm-hmm. Looking back, like reflecting on that, how often that happens, really, you get a feel for how much of how we communicate is just totally predicated on these like ambiguous concepts, ideas, that we don't really have any like real grasp on, any real idea of. So let's think about that.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think that words are very important.
Mm-hmm.
Words are very important.
Yeah.
And they are used to defy, if we use them correctly, they're great tools. Mm-hmm. But if we use them incorrectly, we can create misunderstandings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, serious sort of like hurt to the wrong words.
For example, the word belief.
Mm-hmm.
Believe. To believe in something is to accept something for which you have no concrete experience. Take something for granted. And that is something that you create for yourself, because once you create a belief, you create a structure inside of you to maintain that belief.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
then you start acting in line with that.
In line with that.
Start clicking on things that agree with that.
Yes. Yes. And that's why it's so dangerous. That's why it's so dangerous, because you find a belief system and then you get carried on into that, and then you're lost because you're not really discovering. Mm-hmm. Because the quest for truth is a constant question, is a constant approach. Believing in something takes your ability to understand something.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense to me,
Yeah, because if you think about what the last words of Buddha were, what were the last words of Buddha?
Something along the lines of like, remember, all things will come and pass. Mm-hmm. All things are impermanent.
The very last ones.
So practice diligently.
Wasn't
along these lines?
Be a light unto yourself.
Be aligned to yourself.
A light into yourself.
That could be a more poetic translation, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's why poetic embraces the full spectrum.
Yeah. But like also, you can't, like, once you have a light, you can't make it dark without turning off the light, right? So, like, once you have that, there's diligence that comes with it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Poetic interpretation.
Okay.
One thing that's really interesting to me is learning about evolutionary biology,
Mm-hmm.
especially of humans, you know. Just because I think it has a strong effect on us. I think we spoke about this at one point. But, you know, just... Yeah, we definitely did, I think. Yeah, but, you know, these... we've created ourselves. We haven't created ourselves, but we have evolved to this point where things are very different from the place that we evolved from. In that, you know, we can have food whenever we want, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of different, you know. And we live in places with thousands of people, and yet we don't have, you know, like a tight-knit community. And it just creates all these weird sort of dynamics, I think. And I think we overlook how primal most of our instincts are. Our instincts of, you know, liking something or not liking something, right? All very sort of primal, I think.
Yes.
Like, for instance, you know, social media creates a really interesting dynamic, as it is now, creates a very interesting dynamic in terms of social approval, you know, which social approval totally makes sense from a, you know, historical standpoint. We would have wanted to be friends with everybody in the tribe so that we don't get kicked out, right? We don't go hungry. But now we want to be friends with all 500 of those people on the Facebook tribe, or you know, our connection. So it's not so useful anymore, you know.
And most of these interactions rely on, you know, I do that so that you do this to me. You know, like I like your things and I comment on your things and then you comment on mine.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes kind of a bargain to support each other's story.
Yeah, but there's also like I mean, at some levels, you know, I do this very thing, but there's, you know, a degree of like, why would you post something on Facebook? What's the point really? And, you know, sometimes you're sharing information. I mean, of course, there's all kinds of motives there. But I think, you know, primarily it's just social signaling. Like, this is me, you know, this is what I do. These are the things I like. This is, you know, what I've been doing. And yeah, social signaling, I mean, as soon as you signal, you're putting yourself out there to either be approved or, you know, less so. And so all of that primal instincts immediately get wrapped up into that that one thing. Or just the fact that you're on a network already, you want to contribute.
Yes.
Right?
It is very tricky. The dynamics are changing constantly so much.
Yeah.
And the problem is that communal selection, or how did you call it? Tribe approval?
Yeah,
or
sure.
The primal approval relies on things that we have been already conditioned, which we didn't choose. You know, like, for example, the idealization of female. You know, a female body. What does a female body ought to look like? And if it doesn't look like that, you know, discard the rest. So then all of these people are, you know, feeling bad. You know, people that are, for example, whiter people. You know, like more heavy.
Yeah, and that's even that's like a modern societal
Yeah,
you know,
construct.
exactly. And so
Emotional
we're still
position.
caught up in the primal effect of that.
Yeah. So most of us gear our lives towards having that to be like the best expression of ourselves, and in that it becomes just a show instead of an experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's really important to recognize, I would say, that from the very beginning, that anything that is shared in social media for a one way or another is just feeding the ego in certain ways. You know, even if you do it with the most mindful way, yes, at some level, and it's okay. We need to embrace that. You know, as long as we are aware of it and find the causes and things like that, until we become like a societal great possibility in which you know we are actually collectively working towards enlightenment. Until that happens, you know, we need to recognize that it's part of the defining form.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily all negative.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think.
Yeah, no.
And not that, you know, the idea of an ego is all negative either.
Totally.
You know? So there, of course, are positive things. But, you know, like, social media is really new as we know it. You know, 2013 was the year when the majority of people on the internet had a social media account. That was 6 years ago, you know? So I think it's going to change a lot, and I think it will be more towards the experience of what that is. So like having smaller communities, you know, online, and actually interacting there, and you know, making it more of an extension of, you know, like what we're doing here, or we're seeing each other during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Hypothetical. I hope so, though. I think that'd be cool.
That would be.
But it's got some big issues right now, because it's not like that. It's the whole community. And like, even these companies are sort of shifting. Like Instagram has this close friends feature where you only post to your smaller group, and
Yeah.
it's still not how I think it would be best. Like, the more you eliminate friction there, the easier you make for it to share content to your community and interact with each other, the better it gets. And right now there's already a lot of friction in terms of, should I post this or should I not post this? The social signaling thing. You know, don't want to signal the wrong thing or whatever.
That's true. Yeah. I guess the only reason I mentioned that social media does feed the ego in some way is that if you consider how it was in the most monasteries and things like that, the loss of the loss of the identity is very important. It's an important thing. So that's why.
But you know, those people still talk with each other. They still have friendships. It's just that they're not so wrapped up in this perceived. They're trying to work towards not being so wrapped up in this perceived, you know, identity that they have, right? And so they shave their heads. They wear the same things, but you know, they still interact and they still have friendships like that. It's just not so much like my friends, your friends, what I like. You know, you still have these things, but it's not so much tied into the idea of you and your name, right? So I think there's an opportunity to do that with technology, to make interactions like that without a profile where you spend, 30 minutes plugging in all your signals and saying, I am this way.
Yes, for those reasons, yes. But, yes. Like, for example, the Yana, the app from Ben.
Uh-huh.
That app has no identity.
Right.
That's why it goes into but it's all geared towards trust that you're getting the person that is receiving on the other end is being honest and not there to mess around things.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing that he's created. It's very good. Just hope to see more, on a larger scale and also more practical. We use Facebook for very practical things, getting together for events, communicating ideas, communicating like this petition to support the position of wellness and environmental sustainability on the student board. I wouldn't have seen it. No one emailed it to me. I saw it on Facebook, right? That's how I signed it. Not that was like a huge thing, but things like this, it's an opportunity to be useful and
totally
not
and
detrimental.
And believe me, I think that social media is a technology that is incredible. And it's gonna help really concepts, because right now I've been thinking just recently, my realization or my revelation is that life is dramatic. And because we're coming to the point where either we're going to experience a great collapse or a great expansion. It's going to be both of the opposites.
That's
from the very beginning.
Like to say that.
From the second thing is that whatever change needs to happen, it's to happen really fast. It needs to be viral. In order to do that, it has to go through social media in order to be viral. So that's when social media is going to become important, when the change comes.
Couple things. I like your idea of like, what did you say? Like a drama?
Yeah, that life is dramatic.
Yeah.
Existence is
been reading a book that's right in line with that. It's pretty interesting. I'll tell you about it. And then the other thing you said, like we need really quick progress. Another thing I've been slowly working my way through is this book about progress in America between 1870 and 1970. This was like tremendous progress for the lives of everyday people. 1870 we did not have lights, like electric lights. We didn't have heat. People would bathe like once a month because it was a big ordeal to get the water inside, to make a fire, to heat it up, and to, get everything ready. The fastest form of transportation was a horse. Food was scarce. You had to grow your own food. 1970, 100 years later, all of this has changed at scale of, more than 90% of the people had access to all this technology now. Really amazing. Amazing that in 100 years we went from horses to jet airplanes,
It's coming to the liminal point.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
Again. So it comes. It's kind of like the whole thing of the torus.
Oh, yeah, that shape, right.
We come to that point where it's all so critical, and the energy of itself is what explodes back into a new era.
Right.
And it's the quantum leap.
The interesting thing about this idea of the century of great economic expansion is that since then we've had very little economic expansion, very little technological development.
Ever since when?
1970. Besides information technology, no other we haven't had any technology that's really revolutionized our lives.
What do you mean? What about the cell phones?
Besides, information technology, right, changed everything. But since then, we haven't had anything in energy, anything huge. Things that we already knew about, like nuclear energy, are bigger. Solar energy is bigger, but in terms of real innovation, no innovation in energy, no innovation in batteries, no innovation in materials. We're still using plastic all the time, same as 1970. No innovation in transportation, really, until now we start seeing these electric cars, but they're, contingent on these batteries. So, point is, I'm with you. Either we're gonna hit another,
Because if you think about it, all those things have happened to provide us a way of getting us here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have constructed these technologies, and we haven't really focused on. I have represented it in I've represented it.
Gonna get going here in a second.
How long?
Nowish.
Huh? Knowledge?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I'm seeing the camera right now. It's 30 minutes. It's 6:50.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be at 7? Godly. Okay, let me tell you this.
Hey, man of my word. Try to be.
So. Putting me through hassles right here, painting fast and all that, So, right here, you have what we have experienced so far. Technologies. Each one of those things is being like an empire that is being constructed to either the electricity, or Apple is here, Walmart is here. They're all pulling these resources, and they have pulled in order to build. And everybody's pulling their own direction, because it's the direction of the ego. They're pulling away, so they're pulling the resources out of the earth. So that's why there's imbalance. So what we need right now is to come to a point where we fold all those back in and become harmonious.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the point of harmony. That's when we go from chaos to harmony, to allocate, and then we start finding out better technologies to supplement plastic as we bring the awareness into this world. So at every level, we're challenged with different aspects, because in the same sense, if you see the challenges of evolutionary biotechnology, if you call it, like biology, we have come from being like dinosaurs, which are very big, and they're almost like moving rocks. They were very brute, insensitive, as almost, if you see they don't have that much sensitivity. And being these big things, they were very, gross is a way to express it. Very gross, very aggressive. There was too much. This is the first thing into life, the first things that happen, and then they start becoming more specialized, and they start becoming more adapt to the environments, and the environments start to change and become harmonious, and then all these species start to die, and then they becomes more specialized species, and then happens to be that one of them is the one that is able to develop a mind. The species is able to develop the mind, then it starts to dominate the whole world. And this species that has dominated the mind starts realizing that the mind itself is the one that is going to auto-destroy it if the mind doesn't become. So it becomes a point of awareness. So the next level is globally, or as a species, is to recognize the tangency of thoughts, because they have now been able to
interconnection.
They have been able to identify that thoughts are matter, and because thoughts are a form of matter, it's a subtle form of matter, then we need to do something about it to align it. So that's when consciousness comes in, and as a species we're able to break free from that. That's why the only solution to most of the problems in the world comes from spirituality. from the quest of truth.
Yeah. So one last thing about that diagram you have it going out and then coming in. I think more and more, technology, information technology is really enabling us to come in like this. Like you look at Uber.
Yes.
Very economical in terms of not owning a car, right? You can Uber everywhere.
Yeah.
Cheaper.
And now blockchain.
Yeah, blockchain, tremendous. But also, Airbnb, these companies these coding boot camps that are making income agreements. So you go to school for free and they help you get a job, and then they make money when you start making money. They take a little cut of your salary, All of this, I see that as the coming in. But we still need new technology in renewables, we need it, we need technology in renewables, we need battery technology, hydrogen fuel cells are like one idea, right?
Well, that's why we need an engine that is able to support all of these new ideas. A system that is not directly correlated with, right now, the only way, which is the banks, is through banks. The only way that you access capital is through banks.
Yeah.
That's why the banks are the ones that have the first word as what is to be created in this world.
Yeah.
So we need a system to break away our dependency from capital.
So I'm going to say something controversial at the end. Yeah, I think it's called capitalism. The system that we need.
Capitalism?
Capitalism, yeah. That's the system that
we have capitalism.
Yeah, but it needs to improve, right? It's always improving.
No, capitalism is destined to fail. Because capitalism is based on on the assumption that, basically on the wrong assumption. That you cannot run a linear system on a finite planet indefinitely.
But capitalism is what gives us things like, these schools I'm talking about. All these ideas.
Capitalism give you this. Capitalism is not going to give you this.
I don't know. We'll have to save it for the next podcast.
Yes.
All right. It's been fun.
Good night.